his 25 years in the anime, the 10-year-old from Pallet Town, Ash Ketchum, has certainly won some very epic battles. And so today, I'm going to be ranking Ash Ketchum's top 10 victories ever. Let's get started right away with some quick honorable mentions that just miss out on the top 10. Ash vs. Blaine was a pretty awesome battle, and definitely the best gym battle of the original series. Plus, it gave us a real look at how powerful Charizard could be. Then, Ash vs. Kukui was a visually stunning battle that was also a ton of fun, but there wasn't very much at stake in this battle. And Ash vs. Steven is the final honorable mention. This battle wasn't really all that good, however it was in the first round of the Masters 8, and Ash was still able to take down the third strongest trainer in the world. Okay, now let's get started with the real list. In 10th is Ash's gym battle victory against Lieutenant Surge. Now this battle was a major turning point for Ash back in the original series. Seeing how he didn't really earn his first 2 badges from Brock and Misty, well, at least not in the traditional style. But now, Ash actually had a chance to earn this badge the real way. And upon their first match, Surge and his Raichu destroyed Ash and Pikachu. This loss forced Ash to decide if evolution would be better for Pikachu, but obviously the two were against the forced evolution and headed back to the gym for a rematch. In the rematch battle, Ash used Pikachu's superior speed and agility to avoid Raichu's heavy attacks. Then ultimately Ash and Pikachu were able to defeat Surge and his Raichu. Now, was this the most epic battle of all time? No. But it was Ash's first ever major win, as well as his first ever real gym battle. And finally, this win also helped Ash and Pikachu cement their preferred battling style. In 9th place is Ash vs. Nolan. This battle really helped show how far Ash had come as a Pokemon trainer. The battle came off the heels of a somewhat disappointing showing in the Hoenn League, and now Ash is going up against the first Battle Frontier brain in Noland. And of course Ash wanted the opportunity to square off with his Articuno, so this was the perfect chance for Ash to bring back one of his most powerful Pokemon ever in Charizard. The battle itself was solid, with Charizard and Ash really getting the chance to show off just how far they had come, with Charizard being able to keep up in the sky with Articuno, and even being able to use Overheat. But Articuno and Nolan were definitely no pushovers. The two had some great synergy and really pushed Charizard and Ash to their limits. But ultimately, Ash and Charizard won, earning Ash his first Battle Frontier symbol, as well as earning Ash his first ever win over a legendary Pokemon. In 8th is Ash's Orange League Championship win over Drake. For being a battle over 20 years old, it is still really epic. This battle was also Ash's first ever major achievement in the anime series. Drake was the undefeated champion of the Orange Islands, and at the time, he was likely the strongest trainer we had ever seen on screen. Drake's team was incredibly powerful and very well-rounded. Ash had a pretty powerful team too, and this was certainly his best team of 6 up to that point in the anime. With the likes of Drake's OP Dragonite, the odds really seemed up against Ash, especially when all he had left was Pikachu. But luckily Ash's day 1 homie was able to come through for the win. This win helped show how far Ash had come over the course of the original series. He grew from a weak trainer, late to starting his journey, to a competent champion. While this may just be Ash's most forgettable championship, it is still great in its own right. I mean, Ash even had the Orange Islands trophy right in the center of his trophy collection back in Pallet Town, so you know it means something special to him. In 7th, we have Ash's Kalos League semifinal victory over Sawyer. Now, Sawyer was actually a great rival for Ash, and he's very underrated. Sure, he may not be as iconic as rivals like Gary, Paul, or Elan, but he's still pretty amazing. And this semifinals matchup was the climax of their rivalry. The battle was incredible, with Sawyer's strategic battling style greatly contrasting with Ash's speedy and unpredictable battling style. And at the end of this long 6v6, it all came down to Ash-Greninja vs Mega Sceptile. And I'd argue that this 1v1 was the most beautifully animated and coordinated battle in the entirety of the anime. But of course, it ended with Ash and Greninja showing that type matchups really don't matter, and ultimately defeating Sawyer. What makes this battle such a major victory for Ash is a couple of reasons. The first is that of course it was Ash beating a major rival with Sawyer, who Ash was actually on a bit of a losing streak against up until that time. But the big reason why this was such a major victory for Ash is because this was Ash's first ever league semifinal victory, meaning at the time, this was the farthest Ash had ever come in a regional league. Taking 6th place is Ash's Johto League victory over Gary Oak. We've got another rival matchup in a regional league here, with Ash's first and best rival in Gary. Say what you want about how good of a rival he was to Ash, he was certainly his most iconic and one of the most memorable characters in the entire series. I mean, why do you think they keep bringing him back? But this battle was huge for Ash, as it really helped display the growth he went through, and it was a great bookend to the original series. Back in the day, Gary was always multiple steps ahead of Ashy Boy, so much so to the point where it didn't seem like Ash would ever catch up. I mean, if Ash would have faced Gary in Kanto, there's no way he would have beaten him. But because Ash had gone through 3 different regions and gained loads of experience, and even created a powerful team, it just makes more sense. This battle was awesome. It was filled with some hard-hitting Pokemon, and it had a lot of twists and turns. I mean, Gary kind of destroyed half of Ash's team, only for Ash and Charizard to stage a major comeback. And back in the day, that Charizard vs Blastoise 1v1 was really the best Pokemon had to offer at the time. It was pretty surprising to see Ash and Charizard win against all odds. Even Ash himself was a bit surprised when he got the better of Gary. This battle really worked well and helped prove that Ash had exponentially grown in the original series, and he had now outright surpassed Gary Oak. In 5th is Ash's Battle Frontier win over Brandon. As I said earlier, the Battle Frontier arc was filled with some incredibly powerful Frontier brains. The likes of such were even comparable to Elite Four members, and the strongest of the Frontier brains is Pyramid King Brandon. So knowing this, it should come as no surprise to see why Ash had lost 2 previous times to Brandon. But on his 3rd attempt, Ash decided to throw it back with his original 4 Kantomons, with Pikachu, Charizard, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. This battle was very epic and did not go as expected. I mean, Charizard, who is normally Ash's late battle sweeper, gets taken out right away by Dusclops. Luckily, Bulbasaur really picked up Charizard's slack, and he and Squirtle were able to make this battle a 1v1, with Ash's Pikachu going up against Brandon's Regice. This 1v1 was epic and really pushed Ash and Pikachu. But after a long and tough battle, Ash and Pikachu were able to defeat Regice with a powerful Volt Tackle. And with that, Ash defeated Brandon, Pikachu beat his first legendary, and together the two had conquered the Battle Frontier. Seeing Ash's original team battle together one last time was honestly a nostalgic and most perfect way to cap off the Battle Frontier arc. This is just another battle that really helped display Ash's growth as a trainer. Claiming 4th is Ash's Masters 8 victory over Cynthia. This was arguably the most anticipated battle in Pokemon anime history. For better or for worse, Cynthia was always portrayed as an unbeatable trainer and likely the strongest the series had to offer. Over the years, we had seen her take down countless trainers with ease. So when we found out that Ash would square off with Cynthia in the semifinals of the Masters 8, it didn't really seem like he had that much of a chance. Sure, Ash was probably at his strongest he had ever been with a very impressive team, but I mean, this was still Cynthia he was up against. So during the battle, everything was going Cynthia's way. Her Spiritomb caused some major problems for Ash, as it was able to take down half of his team. But through some intuitive strategies and some raw strength from the likes of Dracovish and Sirfetch'd, Ash was able to claw his way back into this battle. This ultimately set the table for Ash's Lucario to face off with Cynthia's Togekiss and Garchomp. And upon going Mega, he was able to take them both down and earn Ash a major victory. This was another battle that had Ash totally in shock when he realized he had won, and when he came back to, he was overjoyed and gave Lucario a big hug. Now, what makes this battle such a major victory for Ash is a few things. First, I mean, it was the semifinals of the Masters 8, which means now, Ash was officially a top 2 trainer in the whole world. But the bigger part of this victory was just who Ash had to overcome. Cynthia was basically the queen of the Pokemon world. For so many years, it felt like she was on a different level than Ash. He would have had no chance if he had fought her in Sinnoh, Unova, or probably even Kalos. It really just proves how far Ash had come in these later generations. The third biggest victory of Ash's career is his Sinnoh League win over Paul. So this battle in the Sinnoh League quarterfinals is widely regarded as the greatest ever in Pokemon, and there's definitely a great case to be made for it. At the time, this was the longest battle in the anime's history. It was beautifully animated, and it kept us on the edge of our seat for its entirety. As such, Paul was the ultimate foil to Ash, as he didn't care much for his Pokemon and only really cared for their potential and battling prowess. It's the writing of Paul and his contrast to Ash that really makes this climactic clash stand out. This battle builds off every previous matchup the two had ever had, but of course, the best element is Infernape, who is undoubtedly the best written character in Pokemon anime history. Infernape really got his get back and ultimate revenge here on Paul. And that's what makes this battle so epic and Ash's victory so sweet. While this battle might not have had the major stakes of a Masters 8 match, it definitely helped prove Ash's training and ideology superior to his toughest rival ever. Both Ash and Infernape were able to get a big victory over their biggest op. And I'd even argue that this victory for Ash helped change Paul's view of how he should treat Pokemon, seeing how in his return in Journeys, he was much kinder to his Pokemon. This victory also did push Ash into the top 4 of the Sinnoh League, which at the time was the furthest he had ever made it. The second biggest victory ever for Ash was his win over Gladion in the Alola League Championship. I think it's pretty obvious as to why this major battle earns the second place on Ash's top 10 victories ever. This was Ash's first and only regional championship. Finally, overcoming defeat after defeat after defeat is what made this victory so much better. After failing in 6 previous leagues and after over 20 years of losing, the 10-year-old from Palatown had finally immortalized himself as the first and only champion of Alola. I mean, this victory was so major that September 15th is now recognized as Ash Ketchum Day. Sure, Gladion wasn't Ash's biggest or baddest rival, but he was still a very formidable opponent who Ash and his Lycanroc really struggled with throughout Alola. The battle was also so epic. Sure, it was only a 3-on-3, but every single battle and matchup was epic. I mean, the first round is the mythical Melmetal versus legendary Silvally. Then we got an epic Pikachu vs Zoroark Z-Move clash, only to have that be a double KO and lead to the Lycanroc battle. And I'm pretty sure we can all remember the dramatic finish to this one, right?
Now use counter against counter!
Leave it to Ash to throw all logic out the window to achieve his first ever regional championship, and his second best win ever. But coming in first is Ash's Masters 8 finale win over Leon. Epic. Just epic. I don't even really know how to describe this battle. This full 6v6 to determine the World Monarch was arguably the greatest battle in anime history. The visuals were an easy 10 out of 10. The stakes were the highest ever, and the emotions this battle made me feel was like nothing I had ever felt before in anime. Leon's team was absolutely insane and filled with some incredible Pokemon. And for Ash, all of his Journeys Pokemon gave it their all and were at their absolute best in this final match. That Pikachu vs Charizard 1v1 was one of the most tense moments I have felt in all of fiction. Then that climactic collision at the end actually blew my mind. And of course, as we all know, Ash had won. Pikachu overpowered Charizard, and Ash defeated Leon, which means he is the greatest trainer in the world. He did exactly what he set out to do. He became the very best like no one ever was. After 8 regions, after capturing over 50 Pokemon, after countless wins and losses, after a ton of episodes, it was all worth it. It was all leading up to this big win right here. Ash became the world champion by winning his biggest battle ever and thus concluded the story of the 10-year-old from Palatown and how he earned his greatest victory ever. Well guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. What did you think of Ash's top 10 victories ever? Let me know your rankings in the comment section below. Thanks guys, and have a good one.